The world stood on the edge of a golden, fragile empire. Prosperity was a promise built on the foundation of the American home. Loans were signed with ink that never seemed to dry. Behind the scenes, the numbers began to lose their meaning, a tower of debt reaching toward a sky that was falling. Confidence turned into a whisper of doubt across the trading floor. Then the first crack appeared in the heart of the system. Interest rates climbed, and the music suddenly stopped for everyone. Homeowners watched as their dreams turned into unpayable debts. Subprime was a word few understood, but all would soon fear. Banks had traded risk like a game of hot potato, but when the music stopped, the sphere exploded. Rating agencies had looked the other way for too long. They called it diversification. History called it a trap. Bear Stearns was the first giant to stumble. A frantic weekend of negotiations couldn't stop the bleeding. J.P. Morgan bought them for pennies on the dollar. The market thought the worst was over. It was wrong. Lehman Brothers, a titan of 158 years, began to tremble. No one was coming to save them this time. September 15, 2008, the day the world changed. Lehman filed for bankruptcy. The shockwave was instantaneous. Employees walked out with their lives in cardboard boxes. Global markets went into a free fall. AIG was next, the insurance giant that insured the world. If AIG fell, the entire financial system would vanish. The government stepped in with billions to stop the rot. Main Street felt the pain that Wall Street created. Retirement funds vanished like smoke in the wind. Fear was the only currency left in the world. Credit markets froze. The world's engine seized up. Even the strongest banks were looking for an exit. The bailout was $700 billion, a number that stunned the nation. Too big to fail became the anthem of the era. But for millions of families, failure was already their reality. The Great Recession had arrived, cold and unforgiving. Unemployment lines grew as factories fell silent. Trust, once lost, is the hardest thing to rebuild. Protests erupted, people demanding justice for a crisis they didn't cause. The world's leaders gathered, looking for a way out of the dark. Regulations were drafted, and the era of easy money ended. But the scars remained on the maps and in the homes. The crisis was a storm, and storms eventually pass, but the landscape of the world was forever changed. We learned that no empire is too large to fall, and that transparency is the only true security. The ghosts of 2008 still haunt the halls of finance, a reminder that greed has a cost that someone must pay. The economy recovered, but for some, the recovery never came. 10 years later, the world was a different place. The scars of the crisis became the foundation for new rules. We learned to look closer at the things we once took for granted. The risk was always there. We just chose not to see it. In the end, the system survived, but the trust was gone. The 2008 financial crisis was more than a market crash. It was a wake-up call for the modern world. The question is, have we truly learned our lesson, or is history already starting to repeat itself? The numbers may change, but human nature remains the same. A lesson learned in shadows, written in the ledger of history.